Right, and welcome to the collection of motorcycles at the Birdwood Museum. We'll just run through them fairly quickly here. Something you never saw much of, certainly not now because of safety concerns. First introduced in around about 1973. This is a 1981 Honda ATC 70. It became range size. Next door is something that wasn't very common, a 64 Honda CZ 100cc. So you could fit it in the boot of the car. Move on to an early model Honda CB92, Bentley, also there was CB72. So this is a 125 twin CB92. Pretty good condition. Next door to it is a PC50 from the 1970s, still with the original registration plate. Moped there. Moving along to the ubiquitous 1993 CT110, otherwise known as Postie bike, been immortalised on the roads around Australia, and also they took them, of course, on Postie bike challenges. Next to it, a model that for Honda sold pretty well. That's the SL350. There's also an SL250. Took the standard CB250, 350, put upward exhausts on them, gave them a bit more clearance, and sold them as an off-road bike. Quite well accepted, especially people who weren't doing serious off-road. So this one here is in the green and gold, which is not as common as the blue and gold. Next door, an early model Goldwing, a 1975 Goldwing, Honda's answer to Harley Cruisers. Came about from Cologne Motor Show in early 70s, 72, and then they're grown into the mammoth things that they are today. Now, something that's always close to my heart is the RC30, or the VFR 750R. They were introduced for racing, same as Yamaha had their OWA1. And if you want to know a little bit more about it, go back to my occasional motorcycle series, Motorcycle Art, and you'll see me talk and interview an owner who has actually 3 of these. So that was RC30. The RC30 couldn't keep up with the Ducatis. The Ducatis were running 1000cc V-twins. 4 cylinders were limited at 750, so Honda brought out the VTR 1000 SP1 and SP2, and Mr. Edwards managed to win the World Championship on them. But they're still certainly an icon, the VFR 750R. The CB 1100R was a later version. CX500. Not a lot of people liked these bikes, but I'll tell you who did was the Couriers. Couldn't destroy them. They also came out in a turbocharged and in a 650 the same. As you can see, it's got a V-twin, but across the frame as in Moto Guzzi style. This is a 500, electric start, tubeless tyres, which went down well with Couriers, the spoke wheels, especially in the UK. They actually, in Australia, Two Wheels magazine called it Bike of the Year in 1978. Then something that started the superbike movement. Honda introduced in 1969 the CB750. 4 cylinders across the frame, single overhead cam first, and then went on to double overhead cam and evolved right through the series. Thing that got them into the modern superbike era compared with things like Norton Commandos and the BSAs, and that was these started on the button and they had a disc brake. They weren't particularly good, the disc brake in the rain, but nevertheless it was something that did become very, very popular. Police forces used them, people put sidecars on them, and then of course by about K7, I think from memory, they went to the double overhead cam. The first ones were called Sandcast, and at the time Kawasaki, I don't think we're going to catch up with any Kawasaki's here, were making theirs, and when Honda beat them to the punch, they went backwards for a couple of years, redesigned it, came out with the 903 Jaffa. Right, 2005 KTM rally bike. It went in the Paris-Dakar rally, and KTM's had a bit of problems, but they seem to have got their gear sorted out now. TM400 here, well ridden, and of course the mate to the other Paris-Dakar was Caldecott. Unfortunately, Mr. Caldecott isn't with us anymore, but there is some memorials, things like that, and that was a KTM that he also rode in the Paris-Dakar rally in 2005. He was 6th overall, and that was the bike that he rode. Moving on, a little XR750, and behind it the Elsinore. Now the Elsinore was a changeover for Honda in that it was a 2-stroke, whereas Honda was renowned for their 4 strokes, and that is, well, they're 2 strokes, racing and non-racing bikes. Now, a while ago, I didn't see it at the time, I mentioned the VTR 1000 SP1, and we've got one here that came out after the RC30 that we talked about earlier, to compete against the Ducatis. They certainly do. The engine became part of the frame in this one. In other words, it was a stress member which lightened the bike. The rear suspension was bolted directly onto the engine at the back. A little bit hard to see there, but the other thing was had side mounted radiators. You can see the side mounted radiators coming into view there now. The original ones didn't cool it enough, so there was a modification. You put bigger ones on it, and that's what I did to mine. Put the racing ones on it. I can't see, it's on the other side, whether it's one of the first 200 of these that were made for modulation or not. Homogenation, not a modulator, as in milk. But they're a nice bike. Bit of a pain to ride around the town. Very hard on the wrists, and it's, you know, made for racing. And once they get out in the racetrack, boy do they go. A couple of different types of exhaust systems on them you could choose, but that's the VTR 1000 SP1. So that's a look at the bikes as far as I know here at Birdwood National Museum. And hit the like button, tell us about bikes that you've seen and riders that you know. You might have been to Andy Caldecott's memorial. Because after all, he was Australia's greatest off-road champion, and that's been followed up with other sensational wins by Australians in the Paris-Dakar rally, and this particular one that was Barcelona to Dakar. So to the champions, we salute them. We ask that you give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.